Welcome back to another week here in the Pioneer Sideline. We have a lot going on. The baseball and softball teams were in conference action this week. We'll also be covering a new sport for the Pioneers in track and field. We'll also look at sports from a regional and national level. And as always, we'll finish up with the case of the week. So join me as we head on down to the Pioneer Sideline. Welcome to the Pioneer Sideline. I'm your host, Kyle Anthony. The Point Park baseball team is off to a good start this season. Now it's time to start KIAC play. So I'm going to toss it over to Paul Daniels to tell us how the team is doing. So take it away, Paul.
Thanks, Kyle. The 23rd ranked Pioneers matched up against the Golden Bears of West Virginia Tech in a doubleheader last Tuesday. In the opening game, Point Park trailed by 2 runs late in the 7th inning until Stefan Kanja hit a clutch 2-out single to tie the game up and force extra innings. Kanja would later in the 9th drive in another runner, and the Pioneers would seal the comeback victory 8-6. In the nightcap, it was good pitching and a decent run support from Jake Haru and Chris Hernandez that led the way for the Pioneers to sweep the Golden Bears, this time winning 4-2. The second win over West Virginia Tech gave Point Park's head coach Lauren Torres his 200th win all time. Unfortunately, the Pioneers weren't able to sweep Alice Lloyd in their second series last weekend. They lost the opener 3-1 with very little offense and some costly errors. Jared Brown, though, pitched a gem in the nightcap, only giving up 1 run and 3 hits, giving Point Park the edge in this one 4-2. The following day, the Pioneers' offense clicked on all cylinders in both games. They generated 28 runs in 2 games, and Oscar Romero was one of the major offensive leaders with 6 RBIs and 4 runs on the day. Nathan Spohn and Demetrius Moore both earned KIAC Player and awards last week. Spohn was named the KIAC Pitcher of the Week, and Moore earned KIAC Player of the Week. These 2 winning series improved Point Park's record to 21-5 just recently overall, and they finally look forward to start playing a lot of home games this coming April.
Now, Paul, when the Pioneers have lost this season, why have they lost?
Well, you look at the error selection, and they just haven't clicked on the offense. But when their offense is going good, this is a strong team, and they can make up on the defensive end. But when they lose, you generate that towards the defense, the poor defense, and the lack of offense.
Now, Paul, how good is the depth of this pitching staff?
Oh, it's tremendous. As I mentioned, they had Spohn, who is one of the best pitchers in the league, and Jared Brown. He was able to pick it up this past week. So they got a deep pitching staff, and this is a really good team. They're 7-1 in KIAC play and 21-5 overall as they look to play a lot of home games in the upcoming weeks.
Now, Paul, do you see this batting order as more top-heavy or more balanced?
It's balanced, most definitely. Demetrius Moore is probably the best hitter of them all, but it's a really balanced lineup. They got a lot of guys hitting over 300 this year, and a lot of run support for the pitchers.
Thanks, Paul. Now, if the baseball team is kicking off KIAC action, that must mean that softball is doing the same. The softball team is off to a good start. So I'm going to ask Josh Krupp how the team is doing. So Josh, how are they doing?
Kyle, this softball team is doing very well, and they are for real this year. An 11-1 start to conference play is exactly what they needed. It all started with a 4-game sweep over Alice Lloyd a couple weeks ago. The Pioneers won the games by a combined score of 49-8. Games 2, 3, and 4 all ended after the 5th inning due to the mercy rule. After splitting a non-conference doubleheader with Malone University in Ohio, the Pioneers traveled to Brescia for another 4-game KIAC series. Point Park dropped the first game 8-7. They scored 4 runs in the top of the 7th, but it wasn't enough to complete the comeback. But the Pioneers did bounce back in a big way in Game 2. Behind Hannah Harley's complete game on the mound, the Pioneers took Game 2 7-2. In Game 3 of the series, Point Park trailed 7-4 heading into the top of the 7th inning. They rallied with 4 runs in the inning to steal the game away from Brescia. Hannah Harley had another complete game performance in the final game to lead the Pioneers to a 6-1 victory. In their next doubleheader against Crosstown Carlow, the Pioneers again picked up the sweep. They won Game 1 5-3 and Game 2 11-0 in 5 innings, another Mercy Rule win. Senior Kate Reese went the distance in Game 2, and Harley picked up another complete game shutout in Game 2. Of the 20 batters she faced, she forced 10 of them to fly out. In conference play so far this year, Harley is 5-0 with an ERA just over 2 and averages 5.5 strikeouts per game. Now, over this past weekend, the Pioneers had a 4-game set with Asbury and a non-conference doubleheader against Berea. The Pioneers swept Asbury in the 4-game set, and they had to come from behind in both of the first 2 games to win, but won decisively in Games 3 and 4, winning them by a combined score of 29-4, both ending after 5 innings. The weekend ended with a non-conference split with Berea. Point Park currently sits at 13-1 in KIAC play, good for 2nd in the conference behind IU Southeast. They have a doubleheader at Carlow Tuesday to close out the month before hosting Rio Grande this weekend in a pivotal KIAC 4-game set, with the Red Storm right behind the Pioneers in the standings.
Now, Josh, who's playing well in this Pioneers team?
As I said in the top, Hannah Harley. She is 6-0 this year with a 2.48 ERA entering the game against Carlow. Harley has been without a doubt the anchor of the pitching staff. If you're looking for a good player with the bat, Karen Mao, without a doubt. Last week she was KIAC Player of the Week. In that week, 21 RBIs, 2 homers on the year this year. She's hitting .413 with 3 homers and a team leading 34 RBIs. But I'll tell you who needs to play good this year. She's having a decent year, and it's Kate Reese. A couple years ago, she was a KIAC All-Conference selection. If her and Harley are both great this year, there's no reason this team cannot win the KIAC.
Now, Josh, how big is it that this team is finally scoring runs?
It's huge because a lot of the runs are coming early on, and they're getting that big lead. And like I said, a lot of these games are coming and ending after 5 innings. They're ending with the Mercy Rule. The 6 of the conference wins so far have been to the Mercy Rule. So the offense is there this year with a balanced pitching staff. Again, no reason this team cannot win the KIAC.
Now, is it a good thing that this team looks a little more balanced this year with their offense and pitching?
It's not a bad thing, for sure. When you have a good, solid pitching staff, you can have a game or two where your offense isn't totally great. Because when that solid pitching staff's there, if your offense is only getting a couple runs and you have Hannah Harley on the mound pitching a shutout, you're going to win the game. And Hannah Harley really is going to be the key moving forward for this team.
Josh, thanks for all the insight. When we return from break on the sideline, we'll be looking at a new Point Park sport. So come back to see what that sport is.
We are a social people. We share our inspiration, wisdom, creations, and memories. We share what makes us laugh and what angers us. Built on the notion of a free flow of ideas, our country thrives on the freedom of speech. Without it, who would watch over our governing powers? And how would we share our history to make a difference for the future? It's this freedom to share that gives us a reason to listen.
Start your morning with City News.
Start your morning with campus news.
Start your morning with political coverage.
Start your morning with fun.
Start your morning with us, only on Daybreak.
Did you know that Point Park has a cheerleading squad?
Don't get it confused.
Not only do our cheerleaders represent Point Park at regional and national competitions, but they also promote spirit and awareness of every sports team on campus. Come to any men's or women's varsity basketball game at home to watch the cheerleaders perform at halftime and cheer from the sidelines from the first jump ball to the final buzzer. Sports not your thing? You can catch the cheer team lead the crowd at the fall and spring pep rallies as well, or at several competitions around Pittsburgh each year. So what are you waiting for? Show the Point Park cheerleaders the support they show you.
We know you're wondering what the A-list celebrities are up to. Well, here at Entertainment on Point, we're wondering too.
Have you heard about James Franco and Seth Rogen's new movie?
No, but have you heard Beyonce's new single?
Did you see what she was wearing on that red carpet?
Honey, that was not cute.
Did you see what happened on Scandal this week?
No, I was too busy keeping up with the Kardashians. No matter what your guilty pleasure is, we've got you covered.
Entertainment on point. Get to the point of pop culture.
Yeah!
Point Park's track team is in their first season, but that doesn't mean they want to be treated like the new kids on the block. So I'm joined by Blaine King, who will tell us how the team is doing. So Blaine, take us around the track.
Well, Kyle, with the track and field team being in their inaugural season here at Point Park University, everyone here at the Sideline believes it's best to learn the sport of track itself so we can cover them as well. With that being said, both the men and women track and field teams had their meet this past weekend at West Virginia Westland Bobcat Invitational. We will first take a look at how the women did in their 200-meter dash. 2 Point Park runners placed in the top 5. Freshman Amber Brown placed 5th with a time of 29.96 seconds, and senior Taylor Flower placed 3rd with a time of 28.48 seconds. In the 1,500-meter run, freshman Katie Garnache placed 2nd with a time of 5 minutes and 8 seconds. On the men's side, in the 200-meter dash, freshman DeAnthony Morgan placed 3rd with a time of 23.32 seconds. And in the 400-meter dash, freshman Zach Watt placed 4th with a time of 53.89 seconds. And Alexander Vaughn placed 2nd with a time of 52.1 seconds. In the high jump, junior Romel Powell came in 5th with a jump of 1.65 meters, and freshman Sean Berry, who was also named KIAC Player of the Week, came in 2nd with a jump of 1.8 meters. The women placed 7th out of 8 teams at the Invitational, and the men placed 5th out of 7 teams. Their next meet is on Thursday, April 2nd at Slippery Rock University.
Now, Blaine, what does this team need to do to improve?
Well, Kyle, I mentioned they're in their inaugural season, so they're just trying to gel together as a team, first of all, because this is a young team. They're just trying to gel together and find out where their niche is so that in the matches ahead in time, they can all just come together and start placing in top 5, top 3 ranks.
Now, I know the Pioneers already did their indoor season, but how is indoor track different from outdoor track?
Well, Kyle, indoor track and outdoor track are 2 different things, because outdoors, of course, you're outside, and indoors, you're inside. But when you're outside, you're able to do more dashes, more hurdles, more long runs. And inside, you're kind of just restricted to doing a certain amount of things. And you also bring in the field part of things also in outdoor track, because you're able to do more the long jump, the javelin throw, and other sorts of things. While inside, you were not able to do that kind of stuff.
Now, Blaine, who are the stars of this team?
Well, Kyle, I mentioned first off on the men's side is Sean Berry. He was named KIAC Player of the Week, and he's been pretty good in the long jump so far. And on the women's side, we saw her tear it up outside for cross country, and she did the same thing in indoor, and that's Katie Garnache.
Thanks, Blaine. Another Point Park team is about to start their action. That is the golf team. Phil Papor will now join us to preview the team. Phil, take us out to the link.
Thanks, Kyle. With March Madness coming to an end, it's time to focus on the April showers. But I'm not talking about the rain. I'm talking about the greens opening up and golf balls falling from the sky. Yes, golf season is back. It was a long winter, but the Masters is on its way, and here at Point Park, the men and women's teams are preparing for their own season as well. But first, let's start by recapping how the fall season ended for the squads. The men's team last competed October 13th in the Peter C. Rawson Memorial Invitational. 6 teams participated in the event, including Penn State Harrisburg and the host team, Washington and Jefferson. The Pioneers came in 2nd at the Invitational with a team score of 320 and 311 in 2 days of play. Washington and Jefferson won the tournament with a final score of 309 and 303. 3 Point Park players placed in the top 10 in individual scores at the tournament. Senior Eric Poplovsky and freshman Max Kaminsky tied for 4th in scoring, while Diego Ortiz came in 7th. Now for the women. Their last outing of the fall was September 30th at the Allegheny Invitational. The Pioneers placed 7th out of 9 teams in a very competitive tournament. The University of Toronto won the tournament. Throughout the fall, the women played well, earning a 2nd and 2 third-place finishes in the previous 3 tournaments. Though the team fell far behind after the first day of the Allegheny Invitational, the women played extremely well on the final day. They posted a team score of 354, which was 2 shots higher than the school record of 352. As for the spring season, the women have their first tournament April 11th. It is the Westminster Invitational. The team looks to continue its strong play from the fall and follow the lead of stars Lauren Marta and UVU's own Caroline Collins. For the men, their first tournament is this weekend, April 3rd, at the California PA Vulcan Invitational. The team expects to compete at a high level and shoot low scores this season. The team will certainly look for leadership from senior Poplovsky and strong play from the freshman Kaminsky.
Thanks, Phil. When we return to the sideline, we'll be talking about sports on a regional and national level.
Here at the Pioneers Sideline, we get freshmen involved as quickly as possible so they get the real-world experience on air and behind the scenes to set themselves apart in internships and potential jobs. Blaine, where is that video? I needed it in Key Pro like yesterday.
All right, I got you, Chris. But I had a quick question for you guys.
What do you mean the questions? It's always a question. It's always a... What? Where is he? Blaine!
Blaine!
Blaine! Freshman, you can't find any good ones anymore.
Ever wanted to be behind the mic and have the world listening to your show on campus? Well, it's just as simple as joining WPPJ, Point Park's student-run radio station, located on the second floor of Lawrence Hall, right next to the dining services. Listeners can tune in using Point Park's website or through the TuneIn app by searching WPPJ. WPPJ welcomes any new DJs that want to get involved, so be heard. Do you have what it takes?
An expression, a belief, a symbol, freedom to worship, an unspoken word. To express yourself means standing up for what you believe in. There's a freedom to worship, and a freedom to live. To speak never saying a word, to love, to let your voice be heard. The light of your own path. For more information, visit www.freedomofspeechpsa.org.
I'm joined by Trevor Sheets to talk about how sports are doing in the area. So Trevor, give me some good news, please.
Thanks, Kyle. It may not have been a pretty at times for the Pittsburgh Penguins, but they came out of the weekend with a much-needed 4 points after back-to-back wins that saw the return of some key players and loss of another. The Pens faced the Arizona Coyotes on Saturday afternoon, and the game saw the return of star center Evgeny Malkin and forward Patrick Hornquist, who had both had missed several games with injuries. In the first period, the Pens went a man down when forward Blake Como was given a game misconduct for boarding Coyotes forward Andrew Campbell. The second period saw the loss of another Penguin when defenseman Chris Letang was hit by a Coyotes forward Shane Doan and awkwardly went into the boards. Letang was taken to the hospital where he was diagnosed with a concussion before being released Sunday. No word on when to expect the Pens' top defenseman back on the ice. The Coyotes got on the scoreboard first with a goal by Ty McGinn, but it wouldn't take long for the Pens to respond. Following the goal, the Pens scored 3 goals in 4 minutes from Daniel Winnick, Steve Downey, and Sidney Crosby to give the Pens the 3-1 lead. The Coyotes tacked on an extra goal late, but the Pens hung on to win 3-2. Unlike in the game the day before, the Pens wasted no time Sunday getting on the scoreboard when they faced the San Jose Sharks at Consol Energy Center. Goals 56 seconds apart in the first period from Patrick Hornquist and Chris Kunitz gave the Pens the early lead. The Sharks came back in the second period, though, with goals from Ben Smith and Logan Couture to tie the game at 2. A quiet third period led to overtime, where the Pens had to fight off a power play for most of the 5 minutes when Hornquist was given a double minor for high sticking. The Pens were able to kill the penalty, leading to a shootout. Both David Perron and Sidney Crosby were able to beat Sharks goalie Alex Stalock, and Marc-Andre Fleury was able to stop both Shark attempts to give the Pens the win. With 6 games left for the Pens, they are currently sitting in 4th place in the Eastern Conference, tied with the New York Islanders in points. Even though all the talk may be about the Pirates opening up their season next week, which we will talk about later, they are not the only team in town starting their season. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds opened the season Saturday night hosting in-state rival Harrisburg City Islanders over at Highmark Stadium. The Riverhounds won their opener by a score of 5-2, Scoring started early for the Hounds with goals from Kevin Kerr and Rob Vincent in the first 15 minutes of play. The Islanders scored a goal to make it 2-1 going into the half. But it was all Kevin Kerr in the second half, where he had 2 more goals to give him the hat trick. Vincent added his second goal of the game in stoppage time to secure the win and gave the Hounds the advantage in the Keystone Cup. That's all for local sports. Back to Kyle at the desk for a look at national sports.
Thanks, Trevor. We'll be starting off by talking about March Madness. West Virginia came this weekend thinking they'd be able to knock off the undefeated Kentucky Wildcats. And, well, it didn't go as they planned for WVU. Kentucky beat WVU by a score of 78-39, which meant that Kentucky got to stay perfect and WVU was left to figure out what it meant to play defense. The rest of the Sweet 16 games went as planned. The Elite Eight was also filled with close games, with Wisconsin beating Arizona by a score of 85-78 to move on to the Final Four in the Midwest. In the Midwest, Notre Dame put a scare into Kentucky, but the Wildcats were able to pull it out with 2 late for free throws. And in the East, Michigan State was able to go to overtime, and Tom Izzo and the Spartans were able to beat Louisville. And finally, in the South, the Duke Blue Devils beat Gonzaga, so the matchups are Kentucky versus Wisconsin and Michigan State versus Duke. Also in college basketball, it is time for coaches to get hired and fired. We'll start off in Mississippi State, where Ben Hallen got the Mississippi State job. Hallen coached for 19 seasons at 3 different schools, which are Northern Arizona, University of Pittsburgh, and UCLA. Hallen has won everywhere he has went. Hallen's contract is for 4 years and is worth over $2 million a year. Also, we'll go to St. John's, where Coach Steve Lavin and the school have mutually parted ways. They were originally talking about an extension for Lavin till Steve asked for too much money. Then the school was willing to give him. In 5 years of the school, Steve Lavin took the team to 2 NITs and 2 NCAA tournaments. The school has reportedly offered the job to Chris Mullins. Mullins is considered to be an all-time great at the school and is in the Basketball Hall of Fame. In the last big coaching move, Texas Longhorns fired coach Rick Barnes after 14 seasons. Barnes won in every season besides for 1. He's only missed the NCAA tournament once. But Rick Barnes found a job quick. He took the job at Alabama. So, good job, Rick Barnes. And we'll also stay at the hardwood, where OKC, they're having a lot of bad news. The Thunder have lost Kevin Durant officially for the year. He needs a bone graft surgery to fix his injured foot. This will put Durant out 4 to 6 months. He's only played 27 games this season. He's averaging over 25 points a game. Lastly, we'll go to the gridiron, where Nick Saban is laying down the law at the University of Alabama. The Crimson Tide had dismissed defensive tackle Jonathan Taylor from his scholarship after he was arrested again for domestic violence. I say again because when the young man was at the University of Georgia, he struck his girlfriend and choked her there. This caused him to get dismissed from the Bulldogs team. So after he was booted from Georgia, he went to community college, like every other college throughout does. In January, so he enrolled in Alabama. So almost 3 months at the university, he gets booted again. When we return to the sideline, we'll be talking about how the Buckeyes will do this season.
If you're having trouble with your schoolwork this semester, there's a helpful place on campus that you should know about. On the 7th floor of Lawrence Hall is the Program for Academic Success, which provides services like tutoring and academic counseling. The program's Writing Center is specifically designed to help you with your writing assignments, and you can even get help for them online. Students are encouraged to stop in the office, give a call, or send an email.
Every human being has a purpose, has a dream to have their voices heard, no matter where they come from, no matter where they go. As an American, it is their right to have freedom of speech. I have a dream that one day this message will speak louder than words, that even the quietest voice will not go unnoticed. That is my dream. What is yours? For more information, visit www.freedomofspeechpsa.org.
It's time for the Case of the Week crew, so I'm joined by Trevor Sheets and Josh Krupp. So guys, Buster only said the Pirates would win the World Series. What do y'all think?
Well, first of all, it's Yins, and second of all, he might be overreaching a little bit. I know you and I have a similar fate for the Pirates. I have them going 86 and 76, wild card, and I have them losing in the National League Division Series.
See, for me, like Josh said, I have them going 86 and 76 as well. I have them losing in the wild card because I haven't seen anything to really say that they've turned a corner and let alone make the National League Championship, let alone the World Series.
Well, they won't make the National League Championship Series, and if they do, props to them. But I don't think they'll get past there and get to the World Series, let alone win the World Series. And he has the Mariners losing to the Pirates in the World Series.
The fact that he said the Mariners is going to win anything is just ridiculous.
All right, well, we're not in Seattle, so we're going to stay in Pittsburgh. All right, why do you only have the Pirates winning 86 games?
Well, basically because they lost one of their best offensive players in Russell Martin and replaced him with a guy that has not been proven at any point during his major league career can consistently play for an entire season and be productive in Francisco Cervelli.
Well, actually, I thought you were talking about all three catchers because none of them are proven or none of them are any good.
Yeah. Well,
expect Tony Sanchez to have a better year than people are thinking.
Offensively, yes, but defensively,
yes.
he's still.
Offense isn't the problem with Tony Sanchez. Listen, with my internship, we get a chance to interview people. Tony Sanchez said he went to Dominican not to learn how to hit. He learned how to play defense.
And he got kicked out of the Dominican League too
because he was so bad.
He stopped the Twitter though, and he took some time and really focused on it. I don't think he's going to have a Russell Martin year. I don't think he's going to be phenomenal. I just think he'll surpass expectations.
I mean, he'll do better than Chris Stewart, but actually, I could do better than Chris Stewart at this point.
I think it's a mistake. I mean, granted, right now Chris Stewart's injured, so Sanchez will be the direct backup. I think it's a mistake carrying 3 catchers on the roster. They should only be carrying 2. If they want Sanchez to really improve defensively, he should be down in AAA, really improving down there. I mean, batting, he's going to hit well no matter where he's at. He's proven that he can do that in major leagues. Defensively, he needs to get things fixed. It's not going to happen sitting on the bench in Pittsburgh.
Well, related to the catchers, my biggest concern is the starting pitching staff. Bullpen, I think, is fine. Garrett Cole, I think, is a little overrated. I don't think he's going to be one of the top 2 or 3 Cy Young contenders at the end of the year. Once you get past Cole, Lariano, okay, he finished the year strong last year. And then A.J. Burnett, I'm not set on A.J. Burnett. Jeff Locke just got the 5th starter spot. Charlie Morton was hurt last year. It's not a starting pitching rotation I feel comfortable with.
I agree. I mean, yeah. I like Cole a lot more than you do. I think he's going to have another great year. Liriano, I think, proved that he can come back. After the rough first half, he came back and did a lot better. I think he'll be good. Burnett, big question mark. He did nothing in Philadelphia. He struggled at the end of the last season he was here in Pittsburgh.
But he's a good morale guy. Like
but morale's great in the locker room. What's it going to do on the field? And I think the biggest mistake, sending Vance Worley to the bullpen and bringing in Jeff Locke. They love the righty-lefty matchup, and I am sick and tired of it. Put the best 5 pitchers as starters and go from there. I don't care if it's 5 lefties, 5 righties, or some combination. Best pitchers, Worley's better than Locke right now.
Guys, all right. We're going to go to Pedro. What do you think Pedro's going to do this season?
Pedro's not going to have as bad of a season as he did last year. He's had a decent spring this year, and I think he'll turn it around and, again, surprise people. He's not going to be an all-star contender, and he's not going to be the best first baseman in the league, but he will be not the cure for our first base problems, but I think that he will, over the long term, be our best option at first.
I feel a little more secure with first base this year than I did last year. I think Alvarez will be an offensive upgrade at first base as compared to the cast of characters they had last year. And I think defensively, I mean, he'll be fine defensively. He can catch. We know he can catch a ball. He just had a problem throwing it. He can flip it 5 feet to the pitcher when he's
covering. What about the whole
first.
Moving laterally thing? I mean, I heard he causes earthquakes when he moves.
that's a little harsh.
All right, now time for me to weigh in. I'm going to agree with Trevor. I don't think the Pirates make it past the wild card because I don't believe in the Pirates pitching staff. I think Garrett Cole is a little overrated. And look for a Steven Strasburg year. 16 wins, 12 losses. Liriano will have a good year because it's every other year thing. A.J. Burnett will be 14-14. Oh, yeah, Charlie Morton's going to get hurt again. and the 5th spot, we're going to see 4 different guys pitch there. So thanks for joining me, guys. Next week, you can see me at the same Pioneer time, the same Pioneer channel, and of course, the same Pioneer sideline.